Hello, I'm Cheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York. Welcome to One to One. Theater critics have given kudos to the Manhattan Theater Club's production of Lillian Hellman's The Little Foxes. It's the story of a ruthless Southern family at the turn of the 20th century, and it features celebrated actresses Cynthia Nixon and Laura Linney, alternately playing the roles of the ruthless and rapacious Regina Hubbard and the gentle and artistic Birdie. And then there's Caroline Stephanie Clay, who in the role of Addie, the indispensable housekeeper, serves as both observer and referee to the goings-on in this unruly family. What's it like to serve two mistresses, to provide the moral compass for this unscrupulous bunch, and to be a Black actress making a career in the theater today? We'll discuss that with her today. Welcome.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you for having me.
I noticed that you attended an arts high school.
Yes.
You studied theater arts in college.
Yes.
And you later got a master's degree in performing in the performing arts.
Yes.
It sounds like you knew from an early age that you wanted to be in the theater.
Yeah, well, my mother, if you ask her, she'll say that I was performing in utero. It's always been something. I was very shy in junior high school. I had gone to sort of a Montessori type elementary school environment. So it was very focused, maybe 6, 7 kids to a classroom. Then I went to a big, huge public, it was always DC public schools the whole way, but a huge junior high. I guess now they call it middle school. And I was literally overwhelmed. And I think in many ways that's where I honed a lot of my acting skills, because every day was a new illness. I hated it. I said, oh, I have a headache. Oh, I have a sore throat. My mother said, you cannot be sick 365 days a year. I just was overwhelmed with just so many kids. In the 9th grade, I auditioned for the Duke Ellington School for the Performing Arts, and I got in doing a poem from Shel Silverstein's Where the Sidewalk Ends, because I didn't really know what a monologue was. And from there, I really found my identity. I found like-minded kids. I had always been sort of the outsider, and here was a place that was committed specifically to training young people of color in the visual arts, dance, theater, instrumental music. And I am such a proud alum. As a matter of fact, last year I was on full-time faculty until it became untenable for me with my performance schedule.
So who were your role models in the theater?
Well, from very early on, I am from Washington, D.C. One of the wonderful things about D.C. is because it is a federal city, you have access to free museums. The DC public school system was very active in making sure that young people got out to see theater. The Folger Theater, Ford's, Arena Stage, all of these wonderful performance opportunities. And I think it was about in the 5th or 6th grade, I saw an actress by the name of Franchelle Stewart Dorn, who is now on faculty, I believe, at University of Texas, Austin. She was a part of their resident company, and she was African American. So here I am growing up seeing a woman of color playing Cleopatra, playing Titania, playing, all of these wonderful, Lady M, all of these wonderful roles. And it cannot be understated, the power and resonance of seeing someone who looks like you doing something that then becomes an aspirational point. And I remember looking at what she did and not only being overwhelmed by her power and truth, but saying, that's what I want to do. Now, how I get from A to W, I have absolutely no idea.
Were your parents, when you announced to your parents that you wanted to be an actress, how did they greet that?
My mother, I think, was wonderful. My father, well, I know my mom was like great, and I think my father was very concerned. How are you going to support yourself? How are you going to live? This sounds very cute in terms of a hobby, but is it a viable way to move through the world? And from what I could see, the answer was absolutely not. But I also, was in high school at the Duke Ellington School of the Arts during a time. The Cosby Show was the #1 show on television. We were starting to see ourselves as a people made more visible in more spaces. Spike Lee was starting to come out with his films. So there were rumblings of activity that let me know that I was on the right track. I also was very interested in museum and curatorial studies at the time because my father made me promise. He said, you just have some other interest, have some other thing, not necessarily to fall back on, but to fall forward into.
Right.
And I'm so glad he encouraged me, and because we had at that time the Mayor's Summer Youth Employment Program, which is still alive in another form. I worked at the Hirshhorn Museum for Modern Art one summer. I worked at Arts and Industries. I worked in the Slide Registry. I got to learn about artists, African American artist Sam Gilliam, who was doing wonderful work at the time. So I got to see that there were other things out there, other options. And I think that's so important because for me, and I tell my students this all the time, if all you have to talk about is acting or wanting to be an actor, that is interesting for about 5 minutes. What else makes you you?
So what was your first professional job as an actress?
My first professional job, and by professional, it would be the first job that I secured having gotten my Actors Equity card, so becoming a part of the union. I played Juliet in an interracial production where the Capulets were all of color and the Montagues were a white family. It was at the Philadelphia area classical theater company, repertory theater company, and it was outdoors. So
How old were you at that time?
I was 22.
Okay.
And I remember in the review, and they always say don't read reviews, but all actors do. All actors do. Or at least I did. And I remember it was tough on me because the reviewer chose to compare me to Olivia Hussey in the movie. I'll never forget that. Those are the kind of things that you put.
Right.
And I remember even then looking and saying, how are they going to compare me
to Olivia Hussey?
To Olivia Hussey. Ain't nothing about this Olivia Hussey. So their point of departure in itself was so skewed and flawed.
Right.
Reviewing has come a long way, and so have I.
And also, you said one of the families was white, one was black. One thing you're seeing a lot more these days is the cross-racial casting now. Hamilton is quintessential cross-racial cast, but in a lot of other venues as well. And I would think that would be offering more work and more hope to aspiring black actors.
I'm thrilled. We're at whatever spaces that we now occupy that were previously not occupied, to me, are such a wonderful move in the right direction. I'm thrilled about a lot of the Tony nominations this year. Corey Hawkins, who is also another alum of the Duke Ellington School of the Arts, who is in 6 Degrees of Separation, wonderful young man, Juilliard graduate. Again, the more we're out there, the more we're out there. And because there are now more platforms with cable and online platforms and self-production and independent production and gaming and all of these things, the sky really is the limit for what an industrious young person can do. And I think as evidenced by Moonlight, by Dear White People, by Blackish, by the Shonda Rhimes empire, that we're here very much to stay. And
so after being Juliet, did the jobs come easily, or did you do your time working as a waitress or telemarketer, or
how did you know?
What was the path like?
Well, I was in Philadelphia at the time living. Philly was good for me because it was faster than DC, but not as fast as New York. So as I tell people all the time, I was working my way up 95. I stayed there for 2 years. From there on, I did Joe Turner's Come and Gone, which was August Wilson's first play. I met a lot of New Yorkers in that play who said, okay, this is cute, so how long are you going to be a big fish in a little pond? Come to New York. I did. And sort of stood there. I have arrived. And there was silence. So then I started temping. I started working on Wall Street. I was an evening receptionist at Goldman Sachs for about 3 years. We worked at these sort of switchboards that they would call turrets, where the phone would ring, you get the message, and then yell to the trader, your wife's on 5. That was, before voicemail. So I did that. I was a telemarketer at the Public Theater. Here we have the Public Theater, Shakespeare in the Park, specifically, which is free. And my job was to get on the phone and convince people to actually pay huge amounts of money and donate money to something they could wait in line to see. So that took a lot of acting skill. And then I got a lovely agent who is no longer in the business, but then I started doing what they call the regional path, which is really what most actors in their 20s and 30s do, working all over the country in regional theaters, from the McCarter to Long Wharf to the Goodman to La Jolla Playhouse to all of these, and that's where I got my sea legs and my chops.
Okay.
And then from there, in I would say about 2005, I auditioned for a piece called Doubt, a Parable by John Patrick Shanley. I did not book it, but I became the understudy. We started off Broadway at Manhattan Theater Club, went on Broadway, and it proceeded to run for 2 years.
Okay.
When the woman who I understudied, Adrienne Lennox, left the show, I took over her role. We then did the national tour. This starred Cherry Jones, and after Adrienne left the tour, I took over that. So it was then a real change in lifestyle.
There are so many good off-Broadway venues nowadays, but is Broadway still pretty much the goal of every theater actor?
I think so. I know for me, and this is, to put it crudely, it is a matter of survival. We right now as a group are fighting the fair wage on stage. It's a lot about getting a living wage.
Right.
And for
you
most
obviously
of us,
get paid more on Broadway.
Right, exactly.
Right.
But so much of the vibrant work is happening off Broadway, as evidenced by the Obies and that kind of thing. And I did a lot of off-Broadway and was able to go into film and television. And I'm a big narrator for audiobooks. So, it has been a blessed career, and recently have found teaching and playwriting.
Okay.
So it's been quite the journey.
Okay. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back with actress Caroline Clay. She was now featured in The Little Foxes on Broadway. Welcome back to One to One. I'm Cheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York, and I'm talking with Caroline Clay, actress, writer, and teacher. Now, those who are familiar with the movie version of The Little Foxes, the one starring Bette Davis, George Marshall, and it was a terrific cast, know it's about this terribly venal and unscrupulous family who are willing to use each other in any way they can to pull off the creation of a cotton mill, which they believe is going to make them rich. Now, that's what the play is all about superficially. What would you say it's really about?
I think what it's really about is our very young country being on the cusp of a huge shift, culturally, industrially, from my perspective as playing Addie, the caretaker and maid in the play. Here it's post-Reconstruction, very much deep in a time of sort of the anti-lynching laws, but it is pre-Great Migration. So here you have Southern blacks who are freed men and freed women, but still in the South because that's where their family is. That's what they know. So I think the play is about family, about love, and about race. And because it's about race, which is not talked about that much in terms of the dramaturgical side of it, because I think it brings up so many wounds. It's not easy to talk about. For me, it's all I can think about as an African-American woman who happens to be an actress.
Right. Some would also say it's about, somebody that I read, it's about women fighting for their independence.
Oh,
If
yes.
you look at Regina.
Oh, yes.
She always wanted to get out of a little town and have a bigger
Yes, yes.
life. You have Birdie, who wanted a bigger life too, but wound up with a terrible husband who was just using her. You've got Alexandra, who decides at the end that she wants to break out of that
Oh, yes.
community as well.
It is about women claiming agency and their autonomy. And, you know, a lot of people say, oh, we can't believe Regina did the things she did. I can absolutely believe she did the things that she did. Because at that time, you know, because of the way things fell financially, women had to operate through men in order to secure financial security. So I see her as an incredible woman who in any other circumstance would be a Fortune 500 CEO. But given the times, she is having to maneuver in the way she best understands.
Like a lot of the black characters in the work of William Faulkner, Addie is the voice of morality in the play. She sees the Hubbards for what they are, and she doesn't like them very much. She also knows all the dirt on them.
She certainly does.
She knows about the scheme to open a cotton mill. She knows that they're scheming to marry off the two young cousins, Leo and Alexandra. I suspect she probably knows Birdie's sad history.
Oh, absolutely.
As well. It's been said that black servants in the South always knew the white families they worked for better than their employees knew them. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree. And I think that for them was the source of their survival, being one step ahead. I have to credit so much our director, Daniel Sullivan, in really giving me an open playing field to take Addie where I felt she needed to go. She's she doesn't have a whole lot of stage time, but I don't think that you would really know it because she sort of is a membrane through which the play kind of runs through. She and Cal, who plays the butler wonderfully by a veteran actor, Charles Turner. But I was always encouraged. I was encouraged to have a temperament. Early on, I wasn't really sure. I kind of, when I would say my lines, I would try to be pleasant, because these were my employers. And he said, that's not who she is. She will never be fired. She has raised Alexandra. Talk to them like you really want to talk to them, as if your job security is cemented in iron. And so once I really started letting that voice through and not kind of checking myself for tone or, trying to make myself or make Addie nice, I think I really found her song and found her truth, which is one that she does not self-censor. She says what she needs to say and she's out of there. And I think that is why particularly Horace, who is the ailing husband who we meet in the second act, has such respect for her and literally leaves Alexandra, his daughter, in her care. And so the curtain falls on Addie and Alexandra, and where will they go from there?
Right, right. Did you have any particular sources of inspiration for Addie?
My grandmother. My grandmother. Yes, Julia Caldwell Clay. She was born in Meridian, Mississippi. She married my grandfather at age 13. He was age 15. They did not live together as man and wife until she became 17, and then he was older. But they were betrothed very early on. She worked for one of the rich oil manufacturers in Birmingham, Alabama, where they were to move to. And she worked there for over 30 years and my grandmother probably had about a 5th grade education, but raised 9 children, all of whom went to high school and most of whom went on to higher ed and learning. And she was so proud as a woman, how she carried herself and in her work. I remember being little and knowing that my grandmother was the help, if you want to call it that. And she would bring home costume jewelry and different things that her employer's wife would give her. And I remember sort of thinking, I don't know. I just didn't know where to put it as a child. And now as an adult, I sit there and I see that she, again, was making the best of her circumstances. Had my grandmother been born at another time and afforded other circumstances, perhaps that might not have been her narrative, but it was. And she carried herself with grace and with integrity and with dignity. And this is my way to honor her.
The role of maid in a white household has been was certainly a traditional role for black actresses. Was the only role you get at one point in time, but it's also been controversial. And did you have any qualms about playing that role?
Yes, yes, and yes. For a lot of reasons, mostly because that archetype, that trope, if you will, there's a lot of baggage that comes with it. You've seen the play. The N-word is sort of danced around. The word color is used, Negra is used. Our director, again, made huge adjustments to the script. In the original, the N-word is used more than a dozen times. Had that been preserved, I would not be in the show. Not a judgment. There would have been plenty of actresses who I'm sure could have. I personally could not house that as a woman of color 8 times a week in a 3-act play. Not on my watch. When my agent told me that those changes were being made and that that would be the script for me to consider, I felt safe enough to say yes. Is this play for everyone? Not necessarily. There are a lot of my African-American friends who I say, you know what, this might not be the play for you to come see. But for those who do, particularly white audiences come up and thank me at the end. Thank you so much for giving her dignity, to which I say, she has dignity. I didn't give her anything.
Right. And then there was Hattie McDaniel who said, I'd rather play a maid than
be a maid. Honey, yes, absolutely. I carry her with me every day.
The Little Foxes has been done many times. Were you surprised by the overwhelmingly positive reaction to the production?
No, because the ensemble is extraordinary. The work that Laura Linney and Cynthia Nixon are doing, not to mention Richard Thomas, Michael McKeon, and everyone in the cast, we really hit it off very early. And I think, kudos to Charles Turner, who plays Cal, the first day before we, and it's a research that oftentimes, I must say, that white actors do not have to do. When you are doing these pieces that have the maid, butler, character or archetype in it, you have to do extra research. He brought in all of these sources from the Schomburg on what the state of Black America was in 1900 for everyone to read, immediately claiming agency and saying, all of you need to educate yourselves. Cal and Addie are not just window dressing. We are here. And I think that set a tone in the room that was needed and appreciated.
Like many other actors, and we touched on this a little bit, you also write your own stuff. You talk about the teaching that you're doing.
Yes.
And you have written plays of your own. I assume, does one have to have one's fingers at a bunch of pies if one wants to work steadily?
The more you can do, the more you can do. I will be doing, and the ink isn't dry, so I'm not going to give too many details, but I've written a piece that I've performed in D.C., and I just performed it off-Broadway at the Cherry Lane Theater, a piece about radical feminist, the late radical feminist Florence Kennedy, called Let It Flow, Radicalism's Rudest Mouth. It's a wonderful piece.
Did you know her? Did you ever meet her?
I did not meet her. Her 2 sisters, the 2 babies, Faye and Joy, who unfortunately is deceased within the last year, have been my main sources. But Gloria Steinem, who was her best friend, has been a huge advocate of the piece and has attended it throughout its incarnations and has been a huge support. So for me, it has given me independence. I'm not sitting there waiting for the phone to ring because I also have a piece about Edmonia Lewis, the Afro-Chippewa sculptress of the 19th century. When you generate your own work, you are never then waiting for other people to generate it for you. And that, I believe, keeps you from becoming bitter and folding your arms and saying, well, how is she getting this and how is she getting that? Well, if you do not see yourself represented, you must be the change that you seek. And I think that is the biggest lesson I've learned.
So the Little Fox, is it a limited run or is it an indefinite run? Or?
We have been extended through July 2nd.
Okay.
So please come check us out. We're up for 6 Tonys, to toot our horn. So for that reason, tickets are hot. So please, go to our MTC website, and it will lead you there and get your tickets.
Okay, and I saw it. It's good.
It ain't bad.
It ain't bad. It's very good. We're out of time. I want to thank Caroline Stephanie Clay for joining me. You can see her in The Little Foxes at the Samuel Friedman Theater on West 47th Street through July 2nd. For the City University and 1 to 1, I'm Cheryl McCarthy. If there are any people you'd like to hear from or topics you'd like us to explore, please let us know. You can write to me at CUNY TV, 365 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 10016, or you can go to the website at cuny.tv and click on Contact Us. I look forward to hearing from you.